One. So thank you for joining me in this rainy, Georgia afternoon. Today I'm drinking, I feel like I always keep it classic with my green tea, but I'm remixing it with some acai, which if you haven't tried it, is this Brazilian fruit that is extremely good. Definitely a great way for you to kind of, try different tastes around the world, and definitely you can get it in your local grocery store or like local Asian market. But yeah, let's dive in. Actually, before we get into the tea of the legislative session, I wanted to take some time, like I started doing last week, to do shout out a Black historical figure for Black History Month. I was actually going to have our cultural organizer Alicia actually joined me. However, she was going to join me next week on Wednesday. As you guys know, normally I do this on Wednesdays, but because she had to do work on a school project, she was not able to. But let's dive into the historical figure that I definitely want to shout out today. Today is definitely the anniversary of the passing of one of the greatest voices of all time, which is Whitney the Voice Houston. So definitely wanted to give a shout out to her and give her flowers, as she's definitely been one of the best to ever do it. And yeah, just let me give you some cute, interesting facts that I actually saw about her. As some of you may know, but actually with me, when I found out a couple years ago, that blew my mind. Did you know that actually "I Will Always Love You" is a cover of a Dolly Parton song? So definitely, and now even Dolly Parton herself has said it's like, oh yeah, that's Whitney's songs now. So it's actually remains as one of the best selling singles out of all time. So props to her. And when she was young, she actually appeared in 17 magazine and became one of the first women of color to cover the magazine, which was amazing for that time. And Houston is also the only artist to chart 17 consecutive number one Billboard Hot 100 hits, which is crazy in itself. And one of the things that a lot of producers that used to work with her have said is that she was so good at doing the first the singing and recording, that most of the time she did almost all her songs in one take. Like, when I read that, that blew my mind. So yeah, and she actually still holds the records for the most awarded female artist, with 600 awards to her name. So yeah, definitely, if that is not Black excellence and Black girl magic, I don't know what is. So definitely props to her. So now let's dive into what is specifically we are talking about today, which is the different bills that are moving. One of them that is actually moving extremely fast, and we know that they want to make sure that they jam it through, is House Bill 270. The bill has a substitute right now. At surface level, it looks like, potentially it could be a positive bill. No, we know the ulterior motives. The pretty much is going the problem with the latest substitute is that it's going to change the absentee ballot application an entire week, the deadline, without taking into account the actual data from the post office or the affected worker, which is like, so why are you doing it if you're not doing it for the workers, or because there's proof that some data that you might have when it comes to getting it delivered, why you restricting it. The actually also interferes with the voter's ability to get an absentee ballot during the last week of early vote, which is something that a lot of our audience has actually done, where they told us that they were actually go and get the absentee ballot or from an early voting location. So it just kind of makes it counterintuitive, meaning like, how are you not going to make it more easy and now restrict that as well? So yeah, the rationale of the bill is based on processing the absentee ballots, but there's just no reason to interfere with an in-person absentee ballot request or issuance. So and yeah, I just think it's so ironic, because in the same token, our own governor, Governor Kemp, actually requested his 2020 election ballot on October 30th and returned it on election day because he was quarantining for COVID-19. So it's just kind of like, if it was good for our governor, why wouldn't it continue being good for, the regular voter like you and I? It's just, different things here and there that makes you think like, what's going on, So, and yeah, it's just kind of like, does not provide notice to Georgia voters, whose applications are being rejected because of the new deadline. So those are just some of the things that I'll keep you guys updated with. The bill, should be aimed at fixing the underlying issue of, with the different counties, but I feel like it's going to exacerbate it or make it worse. So it's like the bill's goal is to fix it, but in the same token, you're making it worse. So it's like, what? So I'll keep you guys updated as to how the bill is moving. We have heard through the grapevine that the bill is going to come to voting next week. We thought it was going to be on Tuesday, but they did not include it in the rules calendar, which that is another, brings me to a great point. That is something that we will have next week with Alicia, where she will tell you how a bill moves in the Georgia legislature, because it differs from the federal level, as well as every single state has different rules when it comes to the movement of bills throughout the legislative chambers. So that is, keep out for that. It's going to be a very interesting section of our Tea Times with Brian. And yeah, I just wanted to come in and just tell you about it. Most of the other bills that we are looking at, still are with HB 62, which is, just banning outside funding from nonpartisan nonprofits to, like help run elections. And, that in itself is one of the bills that we're watching. Also, a lot of the other bills are just, the ones that are in the packet that we've told you of, restricting, anything when it comes to absentee voting, and just making sure that it's making it more difficult for the voter to vote, which is, I think that we should also be taking into account that even though this is a non-election year, even though you do have to keep out for certain places in the state that are actually running elections this March, so keep out a look for that. Like, for example, here in Henry County, there's, I believe, a superintendent, so definitely look out for that. Look out for any of the other ones that are, if you're in the Augusta area, because those are a lot of times ones that don't get as much press, but those are the ones that affect your day-to-day base, like how you run your life more impactfully than what something that happens in like in DC. So definitely look out for that. I think that there's definitely been a lot of rumblings. I feel like myself, I'm like, wow, like there's things are moving so fast. But I think that just wanted to come in and talk to you all about the different bills. HB 270 is the one that has been moving the fastest. All the other ones that we are watching are relatively in the same place. They either have not been assigned a committee or they're still in the hopper. So those are in, like Alicia will explain next week, the hopper is specifically where the bills are dropped in order for the public as well as the legislators start, finding more about it. So I will leave you definitely with the call to action to actually start getting to know who your legislators are, both your representative as well as your senator. I will make sure to include in the link down below how you can do that. If you don't know how to do that, you can also ask me, leave it as a comment. It's like, hey, I live here, can you help me find it? Definitely will be more than happy to help you with that. I think this is very important. I think that we will see a lot of more movement with bills coming down the pipeline. We're actually going to do a couple events with other organizations, so keep out for that. We'll give you more details as those are come down the pipeline. So, but yeah, definitely we want to make sure that you guys know what's going on, and are able to contact your elected officials, because at the end of the day, they're representing you, so we gotta make sure that they know how we feel and how we want them to go about this different you know and let them know that elections shouldn't be open to everybody that is eligible and not make it harder for us, so definitely want to make sure that is going to be a running theme that we would definitely see, and yeah, so we would definitely keep you up to date. This was a short and sweet one, but definitely wanted to just kind of bring up House Bill 270. That is the one that we want to, we are watching and has the biggest movement. But yeah, thank you guys for joining me for another Tea Time with Brian. Next week is going to be a little bit longer to make up for this short one, but definitely thank you for joining us, and we'll see you next week for another Tea Time with Brian. Bye bye.